for joining another episode of Banking on Experience. I'm your host, James Gilbert. Today, we are joined by Alina Murcar, who is at Canopy Credit Union. She's been there for 5 years. She's the marketing and digital content specialist. She's a seasonal internship. She does it at colleges, making it at 5 years in June, 8 years actually in June. She also hosts her own podcast called Act with Alina. It's bringing activism into your daily life, one conversation at a time. Love that tagline. She's a 200-hour yoga instructor, and she's a cat mom. Welcome to the show, Alina.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this fun conversation today and be a guest on a podcast instead of hosting one. It's kind of a different experience.
It's a little bit surreal, right? It's kind of different, but I think you're going to enjoy it. Today, we are going to be talking about sharing your vision and story unfiltered. But before we do that, I have a couple of questions for you. If you had a theme song to introduce you, what would it be?
This one was actually so hard, and I think it probably changes on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think right now I'm really in a Beyonce, I really am tuning into Beyonce lately. And so I was thinking it over, and I think that my theme song that would get me super pumped up would be Run the World Girls by Beyonce. I think that's just such a hype song, and I absolutely love it.
Nice. All right, next question. Who is your favorite person to follow in the credit union world?
Another very difficult question, but slightly different, right? I absolutely adore my coworker, Juan Fernandez. I love him. He is going to be the new president of the New Mexico League of Credit Unions. And so he's leaving us, sadly. However, we're super excited for him. He is hosting the See You at Happy Hour events almost every week on Thursdays. And those have just been so incredibly moving for me because I feel like it connects all of the credit union people together, and it brings us together nationwide to talk about meaningful topics when it comes to the credit union and when it comes to the community. And it is so moving, so impactful. So I did write Juan as like my number one because I absolutely adore him. Anything from Inclusive is absolutely phenomenal. I love following Inclusive. And the CUNA podcast, that I listen to that every week. I believe it's every week that they come out with new podcasts. And then a couple of other ones that really inspire me are Victor Coro. I follow him on LinkedIn. He's under Victor Miguel Coro. And Monica Bells, maybe, from Kauai Government Employees Federal Credit Union. I think they're just absolutely incredible people with incredible stories and always sharing really moving and revolutionary ways to engage with our community and our members.
Love it. That's a good list. Everybody take notes, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's a really good list.
Yeah.
So let's start with the topic at hand, sharing your vision unfiltered and your story unfiltered. Let's start with Canopy's vision. Talk to us a little bit about that, how it came to be, what's the story behind it?
Yeah, I love it. So when I first came on at Canopy, we were actually Spokane Federal Credit Union. So we've gone through quite a large rebrand. In 2019, we rebranded. So we were founded in 1956 by 7 federal employees in Spokane, Washington. And over the years, we have really leaned on our SEGs, right? Your select employer groups. And as credit unions started to rebrand and become community chartered, we found that it was more and more important in order for us to be around long term that we kind of evolve to meet the needs of our members as well. And so we felt that Spokane Federal Credit Union, as much as we honor that past and all of the places that it got us, we also realized that it was time for a refresh. It was time to come up with a brand and a brand image that really reflected who we are today and where we want to go. And so we came up with Canopy because it's a beautiful nod to the Pacific Northwest, right? A canopy of trees. And it protects the ecosystem underneath, right? And it also helps them grow. And so we attribute that a lot to how we are with our members, right? We want to cultivate their growth. We want to protect them and keep them safe from being taken advantage of elsewhere, and help provide education, as well as, like I said, cultivate their growth, help provide opportunities for them to feel confident in their financial future, right? And so I have to drop this in there because it is so dang good. But our marketing director, John Maroney, he came up with this, and I think it's phenomenal. But our 2021 vision for the year is be the Yoda. And I love this because
Who's
really
not a
what it
Star
is.
Wars fan, first of all? I mean, come
Yes,
on.
yes, huge. I love Star Wars. And so, first of all of us, I know, for those of you listening, all of us got these like little Funko Pop dolls, and I'm holding it up here. It's like a little bobblehead of Yoda. And then we also got these shirts that say "Be the Yoda," and they have the Canopy logo mark on them. They're so fun. And I love how we've taken this really fun way to engage with employees to help portray the idea that we want to help guide members to be successful in their financial future. And for you Star Wars nerds out there, it's kind of like we literally showed this one particular snippet in our staff meeting when we announced it, of in that scene when Luke is trying to lift his X-wing fighter out of the swamp at Dagobah, and he's like, I can't do it, right? He's trying to use the Force to lift up his ship, and he's like, I can't do it. This is impossible. And then he starts to walk away, and all of a sudden Yoda just he uses the Force, and he lifts the X-wing fighter out of the swamp and up and over, and Luke is just in awe, right? He is like, I completely mind blown that this happened. And Yoda says something like, there is no try, there is only do. I can't remember. I'm going to butcher that. But and James, you might even know what he says there.
Do there is not, try there is, I think is what it
Yep, I knew you would know. I had a feeling. I could sense that you might know. But yeah, and then eventually Luke goes on to become more powerful than his master.
Yeah.
But Yoda guided him along his way in order to help empower him to get there. And so at Canopy, we view ourselves as the guide whose mission it is to help members realize their financial possibilities so they feel more empowered and can take charge of their own financial future.
You know what I really love? I love all the Star Wars stuff because I'm a big Star Wars nerd. But what I love the most is the fact that you guys picked a name that had meaning behind it. Like, I'm not talking about like every name, I get it. It has meaning, but like there's deeper meaning that you can tell the story behind that. And I actually really love that, especially because I think that doesn't happen very often. Not just in this space, but all spaces. People have a name and they don't really have a purpose behind it outside of just like what's on the surface. So I love that.
And I think I'll just add another thing too, as we are a CDFI. And so with that, we want to really lean into that more, because we're able to serve people who can't get services anywhere else. We want to serve people who can't get services anywhere else, because one of the best things we like to say here is your story matters. We don't just look at a credit score. You are more than your credit score. And we have a list of things that we look at other than your credit score. And so we're able to be creative with our lending in order to help guide and empower our members.
Love it. Let's talk about some of the unfiltered stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
What have you found to be successful in keeping the story unfiltered?
Mm. I I I think that sometimes it can be so easy to just show up, do your day-to-day activities, and then go home and treat it almost like a job or like a job. I don't even consider my job to be like work because it's so awesome. But it's so much more than it's so much more than just a job, than just this 9 to 5, right? And I think that what helps me keep it unfiltered is by really leaning into those interpersonal relationships, those relationships with our members and our employees, and finding what makes them their true authentic self. Because when you engage and when you find out what people's passions, hobbies, and interests are, they are going to light up when you ask them about it, right? And then let's say you find out someone has a passion for something that you're like, oh, that actually aligns really well with our mission. And you live in an area where we're trying to serve. Can we talk to you about this? How can we engage with our existing membership and employees to then help better serve our targeted areas? And then I really do like to promote. I really think that engaging in training from people who you admire is really important. And so this, for me, I really love writing. And it's important for me as someone who engages with our digital presence to have very organic and um, approachable writing, right? Readable writing. So I did a training called the Copy Cure from Marie Forleo. And I really like Marie because she comes at it from an unfiltered perspective. She is more casual in her writing, which definitely has a place in the financial sector, but also she's able to just help you fine tune what your message is and how you want to portray it and how you want to be engaging, so that it's not just like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, right? So I think doing those things and getting members and employees involved and learning more about them and listening.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's the simple stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes we overcomplicate it, and I think that's part of the problem when then we start. I actually think about it a lot like this podcast. Like, did we rehearse this?
No.
Yeah, we're going off the cuff, and what
Yeah.
makes things real and valuable is when you go off
Right.
the cuff and you don't have a filter there, because too often times that filter can actually create more of a problem, and it makes you seem less like you're actually trying to relate to your audience. And I think that that's something that a lot of credit unions are doing a really good job. There's some that aren't, right? Talk to us a little bit about the financial institutions that you know that are doing a good job at that.
Yeah, and there's so many amazing financial institutions. And this one was actually a little bit harder for me because I it is so hard to pick and choose, right? And a lot of the people I follow are local credit unions and local banks. So I can, of course, refer to a few of those. But I also really want to give a shout out to Trailhead Credit Union in Portland. I love their messaging, and I love their website too. It's slick. But I really love their messaging. And I think that creating consistent content for social media and for your digital presence is really something to be valued. Another example is Global Credit Union here in Spokane. They have just been rocking it with consistency. They are consistently posting, they're consistently sharing videos and sharing content that's relevant. So those two credit unions, I was like, okay, I could definitely speak to these and feel really good about them, because there are a lot of credit unions, and heck, we do too sometimes, where you're like, hey, this stock photography, right, is Like it's a really beautiful photo. And every once in a while we'll use a piece of stock photography, but that has been something that we really, really hang our hat on, of wanting to make sure that what we're sharing is authentic. And I think that these two credit unions do a really great job of that.
Yeah. I love when you have real life examples like that, because now I want to go look at like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media, let's talk a little bit about this, because this is an area that you obviously do a lot for Canopy. So social media wise, okay, how can I be better storytellers in social? And then also a follow up to that is, what social channel do you use to tell these stories?
Well, I'll take it back to consistency. I think consistency is the biggest thing that we can do. And I think that taking pictures of real experiences and real members and real employees is absolutely going to be the number one choice and the number one thing I recommend without fail. Look, a couple of things that I always do is I look ahead for the month ahead, right? We have these fun calendars at Canopy that our graphic designer makes every year, and she adds fun dates in them. So I'll look at this calendar and I'll say, okay, in May we've got Star Wars Day, we've got Mother's Day, we've got pardon me, Memorial Day, Brothers Day. So we have all of these fun ways to celebrate coming up. There's even a Receptionist's Day. That's a great opportunity for us to highlight a receptionist. And so what I'll do is I'll think, okay, let me go see if I can grab a picture of this person or of this experience or something. Can I pull inspiration from a stock photo and maybe say like, oh, I like this one. How can I recreate it as Canopy? And then I'll go and I'll take a picture. It's not going to be a stock photo. It's going to be with my phone or with our camera that we have here. And I'll use that instead, because that fuels the culture that we nurture and that we provide, which is that unfiltered culture, right?
Yeah.
And of course, you have to have boundaries. I think it's very important to have boundaries of what you do and do not share. But within the boundaries that you set, have fun, be creative, play, and listen to ideas. It can be so easy, as someone who's done the social media for Canopy and for Spokane Federal for so long. It can be easy to fall into a rut. And when I get in those moments, I just kind of walk around and see what people are doing. And I'm like, okay, Hannah has something really fun at her desk. Let me have her hold it up so I can take her picture. We've got, for Star Wars Day, what a perfect opportunity for us to talk about Be the Yoda.
Yeah.
And so just thinking ahead and trying to have those opportunities to fuel your social media, and in the moment, allowing yourself to have fun with it too. Here, and one more example I'll give you is we were recording an educational video, and we were doing an interview with one of our member advocates on the fraudulent the fraud that he sees members often have. And I thought it was really funny, just more of an internal joke, to put a filter on his face, because I was behind the camera filming. And I thought it would be funny to put a filter on his face on my phone and take a picture of him, or take a video of him with this silly filter on, right? And so then it ended up just being so funny, and they were talking about credit union industry things anyways, that I was like, this is actually something that I could post for the credit union and it would be really funny. And so in a couple of employees from different branches also saw that and thought it was hilarious. So, I mean, it's just a fun way to engage, planning ahead mixed with what's happening in the moment. And I'll end with answering your other question of, I really think that choosing a channel that works best for your organization, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and doing it well. You don't have to be on everything, especially if you're not going to fuel content regularly. Choose the places you know you can do the best at, and then do the best at those places only. And for us, we have built a presence on a lot of different platforms, and Instagram is our most engaging platform, followed by Facebook and LinkedIn. YouTube has also become a very strong contender for us as well, because in 2020 we put out 20 educational videos, short educational videos. And so yeah, all of those are really incredible. And I like Instagram probably the best. And that's also a personal choice as well.
I love it. You know, it's interesting because each platform in social media has a unique way to approach it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Like Instagram is a lot more about visuals, right? You got to show visuals. This is imagery and videos and things like that. TikTok is all about the videos and making it fun and engaging. So, I mean, I agree 100% with you. You've got to pick your poison. Where do you want to be, and what social channel do you want to do content in? And then you've already mentioned this, and then the other key is continue to be consistent, right? You've got to always be posting. So if you're not prepared to do that on every channel, then I love what you've suggested, which is focus on one and double down on it and make sure that you're always consistent in that one channel. And you can build a following pretty easily that way. There's something else that you also mentioned that I actually really, really like too. When it comes to, you know, you're talking about some of those stock photos. And there was some research that was done in 2020 about how everyone has now moved away from doing things in a professional video and all that kind of stuff to just using your mobile. Like, just pull your mobile out and you start taking a video, you start doing a picture. People don't expect the quality that they wanted before. What they now want is more of a human interaction. So they want it to seem more real. They don't want the fluff behind it. And that's some of that unfiltered stuff that continues that you've been talking about specifically with social. And I'd love for you to hit on one area. Let's talk about bringing your whole self to work and how that can actually impact this. Because we talked a little bit about that when we